Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team mock draft on YahooFantasy.com. Inside of this video, I'm going to be drafting from the second overall spot, and I'm going to be talking about my thought process throughout the draft as it comes to my picks, as well as the picks going on around me. Now, a big focus of this video is not necessarily who I am picking. Obviously, that is important, but it is also about what is going on throughout the draft, where I talk about my thought process on each pick. That's probably where you're going to get the most information throughout this video. So if you do end up enjoying, you end up having a great time, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Now, the draft has begun, so let's get into it. We are at the number 2 overall spot. The first guy here seems like he's about to auto pick, but it should be Christian McCaffrey. In a majority of leagues, I think we see Christian McCaffrey go at the 101 this season, unlike in years past where there's a lot more variance at the 101. At the 102 here, to me, it is also kind of a no-brainer with Dalvin Cook. Now, Dalvin Cook does have that technical injury proneness that goes along with his name. Obviously, it seems like he gets banged up every single year, misses maybe 2 or 3 games, but at the end of the day, at the number 2 overall spot, you are getting a guy that is an absolute machine at rushing the ball as well as catching the ball week in and week out. This guy's going to be scoring so many points for your team and is one of the guys that could rival Christian McCaffrey to finish as the number 1 overall running back in fantasy football. But this is something that I tweeted out the other day. I honestly think people are really undervaluing how good a healthy Christian McCaffrey is. When Christian McCaffrey is healthy, this guy doesn't average 23 points a game, right? This guy's averaging 30 points per game, and there is games where this man takes the defense and throws them into a blender and he drops like 40 points because that's just how good Christian McCaffrey is. And a lot of other running backs do not have anywhere near the amount of upside that Christian McCaffrey does and the amount of safety that Christian McCaffrey has. So a lot of people are kind of undervaluing, at least in my opinion, really how good Christian McCaffrey is. I think it's a little foolish to take anyone else number 1 overall, unless of course you're in a 2 quarterback or super flex league. That is the only way I'm taking someone different besides Christian McCaffrey, unless of course McCaffrey gets hurt before the season starts. Knock on wood, obviously we don't hope that happens. So after I went with Dalvin Cook came Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Nick Chubb to close out the first 10 picks of the draft. Obviously 2 more picks inside of the first round. The first round, just like always, dominated by the running back position. You're typically going to be seeing like mostly running backs in the first round, maybe 2, maybe 3 non-running backs that could be receivers, or it could be tight ends. Obviously, in some leagues you are going to be in, or you could be in, you're going to be playing with more casual players, and the more casual player wants to draft a quarterback in the first round. Now, can you win doing that 100%? But I do not advise it because I think that you can find a good quarterback later that could potentially rival a guy like Pat Mahomes in points, where it's very hard to find a Dalvin Cook, a Christian McCaffrey inside of like the 7th, 8th round where you could take a quarterback. But the first round is going to be heavily dominated by running backs every single time because everyone wants to get their workhorse running backs because they fall off the board so quickly. After like the second round, it's looking a bit damp at the running back position, so people like to hammer them down early. After Mr. Aaron Jones came out the board, came Austin Eckler to close out the first round, followed by Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Antonio Gibson, and Najee Harris. Now, what I've noticed is in drafters, in Underdog, on these best ball websites, people tend to take Travis Kelce in the first round, and those are people putting money on their drafts. Here on Yahoo, in these free mock drafts, people typically wait until the second round to take Travis Kelce. So I'd be very interested to see where Travis Kelce is falling in drafts when we get to August, early September, when people are actually doing their fantasy football drafts, where Kelce ends up going, if people are comfortable going with the safety at tight end early on in the draft, or if more people are waiting until the second round. They want to get their workhorse running back maybe in the first round, or a wide receiver to pair with Travis Kelce. After DeAndre Hopkins came Antonio Gibson, Najee Harris, Pat Mahomes, and Cam Akers. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes can really go anywhere inside of of the first 3 rounds of the draft. Some people, they're gung-ho. They want to go ahead and get the quarterback because in real life, the quarterback is the most important position on offense, but in fantasy football, they really aren't, but people don't really know that are newer to fantasy football, so they want to get Pat Mahomes early. I understand it, but that's not what I'm willing to do. After Akers came George Kittle, DK Metcalf, and Calvin Ridley. So looking at the board right now, obviously, we already have our guy in Dalvin Cook for our starting running back, so we're going to do something I have not done before, and that is drafting Joe Mixon in the second round. Now, I do worry a little bit about Joe Mixon, but it appeared that his ADP was a lot higher on other sites that I was looking at the end of the second round. I feel relatively confident in drafting Joe Mixon. A news blurb came out that this is going to be the largest workload of Joe Mixon's career. According to The Athletic's Paul Deher, believes that Bengals running back Joe Mixon will handle the biggest workload of his career. Will that happen? I'm not too sure, but what I do believe in is that an increased Cincinnati Bengals offense should bode well for Joe Mixon, hopefully a better offensive line. Unlike last year, you're getting him at a bigger discount here at the end of the second round as my running back too. I feel a little bit more safe doing that. So now we're going to hop onto the wide receiver train here and probably just select either Keenan Allen or Michael Thomas. I like Keenan Allen a lot, but I think a lot of people are kind of underpricing Michael Thomas and not really giving him the praise that he deserved. If you guys remember, just in 2019, this guy is getting so many targets week in and week out. This guy's the best fantasy football wide receiver, and it is not even close. He was shitting on the wide receiver 2 in 2019. Obviously, in 2020, Michael Thomas dealt with injuries, and I honestly think he dealt with being just a baby back bitch, and he didn't end up coming back. There was all these reports about dismay through the team that him and Drew Brees weren't doing well, all this other stuff. But now it's a new season. It's 2021. Drew Brees is gone. Famous Jameis Winston is under center now for the New Orleans Saints, and I think that Michael Thomas is being severely underrated. Would I judge you if you drafted Keenan Allen there? No, I would not, because I think Keenan Allen is actually relatively safe this season, one of the best route runners in the NFL. Everyone always talks about that for him, so I figured I'd bring it up as well. The guy's on a team in the LA Chargers that should be a very solid offense. Obviously, their quarterback in Justin Herbert just won Offensive Rookie of the Year, so I like Keenan Allen a bunch. But after I went with Joe Mixon came Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown before my Michael Thomas pick. A.J. Brown is a guy that I think a lot of people are going to be either in on or out of. Now, before the Julio Jones trade, I think basically everyone was all in, balls deep on A.J. Brown. Everyone believed in the target share. Everyone believed in Ryan Tannehill. But now it seems like a little bit of pumping the brakes action is going on here for A.J. Brown because of the fact that Julio Jones is there. People are getting a little bit nervous. Their knees are weak. Their arms are heavy. But at the end of the day, I think that A.J. Brown is still going to be a really good wide receiver with Julio Jones, and it may even make him better because now A.J. Brown is not guaranteed to be getting the double coverage in these games. It could be Julio Jones drawing the double coverage. You can't cover fucking A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Derrick Henry, all these guys at once. So you got to make sure that you're ready for Julio Jones, so A.J. Brown should be able to get a lot more openings, at least in my opinion. I still am very confident in A.J. Brown. I understand that Derrick Henry is not someone you have to defend in the pass game. That guy has butter fingers, but you do have to worry about the fact that they're just going to pound the ball down your throat with Derrick Henry, and you won't be able to do anything about it. After I went with Michael Thomas came Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery, Miles Sanders, Mike Evans, Chris Carson, DeAndre Swift, Josh Allen, Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, double Allens, back-to-back Michael Jordan 96-97, and Terry McLaurin. After Terry McLaurin came Julio Jones, followed by Mike Davis. Now, just one round later after Patrick Mahomes comes Josh Allen. Again, in leagues, quarterbacks are going to go so differently. Every single time. Every single time you draft, the quarterbacks are going to go in different spots. In some leagues, the quarterbacks, they're going to come fast. They're going to come early, premature ejaculation. And then in other leagues, it's going to take maybe till the fourth, fifth round to where you really start seeing quarterback runs. Typically, runs happen at the quarterback position because people start to panic. Someone takes Josh Allen, and now the person who wants Kyler Murray is worried, so they take Kyler Murray. And then the next person panics, they pick Lamar Jackson. Then Aaron Rodgers comes off the board. Then all these guys come off the board, and then you're just sitting there confused as to why people hopped on the quarterback run because now you have better value at running back or wide receiver. So make sure that when you're in your draft, you stay calm when you see the runs at the quarterback and the tight end position because they do happen in the middle of drafts. You want to make sure you stay away from the run, unless, of course, you are sold in on one of those players, then you just draft them. I understand, but I typically try to stay away from the runs. After Josh Allen came Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Julio Jones, Mike Davis, Chris Godwin, James Robinson, Josh Jacobs, and Amari Cooper. Now, I noticed Miles Sanders went in the 3rd round, and to me, Miles Sanders has no fucking jazz hands, no pizzazz when you draft him. I don't really see anything in Miles Sanders. I think that Jalen Hurts is going to be stealing a lot of those rushing touchdowns. I think that we may end up seeing not a Miles Sanders workhorse season, because personally I believe he's not a NFL workhorse running back. Am I fine drafting him in the 3rd round? Yeah, but I see literally no fucking real upside when I am drafting him. After TJ Hawkinson came Kyler Murray, so a nice run there at quarterback. Not really a run, but a bunch of quarterbacks going around the same spot. So we're back up on the board here. Looking at running backs, it's looking a bit grim, so I want to go ahead and snag a wide receiver here that I am very confident in. I draft him in basically every single draft, so we're not going to do that. We're going to go with a different player in CeeDee Lamb. Now, I do have Robert Woods ranked higher than CeeDee Lamb, but I do think that Robert Woods is just a guy that I've talked about so much that I don't think I want to draft him again because I've drafted him so many times. The upside in LA is immense with Matthew Stafford under center with Sean McVay as the head coach. I just love Robert Woods in 2021. I probably should have drafted him. If this was a real draft, I would have drafted him, but I wanted to talk about CeeDee Lamb. After I make this next pick, I will be talking about CeeDee Lamb. Myles Gaskin came off the board, the running back that I wanted at this spot. So we're just going to load up on another wide receiver here and hope to dip my tip back into the running backs in round number 6. So around this range, I really do like Deontay Johnson. A lot of people are a little bit nervous on Deontay Johnson, but I still am very confident in Mr. DJ of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe that he is going to be seeing a whole lot of receiving opportunity in this offense. It seems like Juju Smith-Schuster, you're not that guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that guy. And Deontay Johnson is actually the guy in that offense. Now, the fact is that the offensive line is still dismantled. While I want them to run the ball, I'm not too sure how much they're going to be able to run because the offensive line is just going to fold completely and play like shit. And with a bad offensive line, you're going to have to be passing the ball, and that's exactly what the Steelers did last year. I think they will run more with Najee Harris, but I still think they're going to try to pass the ball a whole lot, and if Big Ben is able to stay healthy, I am very confident in Deontay Johnson, because it seems like Big Ben, or Deontay Johnson, is Big Ben's guy in this offense. Back to the CeeDee Lamb pick, I really do like CeeDee Lamb, because if Dak Prescott is able to stay healthy, which is the hope, that CeeDee Lamb will potentially be seeing wide receiver 1 receiving targets as the wide receiver 2 on the team, obviously behind Amari Cooper. While Michael Gallup is there, it seemed like he was really simmering down last season after a relatively hot 2019. Why was that? Because CeeDee Lamb was injected into this offense. Before that, it was just Gallup, it was just Amari Cooper, and Gallup was able to flourish in that system. But now with CeeDee Lamb there, he's taken up a lot of opportunity, and obviously for good reasons, because he is a very, very good NFL wide receiver. That's why he was drafted in the 1st round to the Dallas Cowboys just a year ago. After Deontay Johnson came Cooper Kupp, Kareem Hunt, Dak Prescott, DJ Moore, Wiki, Melvin Gordon, Kenny Golladay, Chase Edmonds, Javonte Williams, and Lamar Jackson. So it's very interesting in every draft to figure out where tight end of the Atlanta Falcons, I apologize for kind of just I don't know what the hell that was, but for tight end Kyle Pitts, where he is going to end up going in drafts, because it seems like he's going everywhere. He's going in a broad range of places. In the last couple of drafts, I've seen Kyle Pitts go as high as the 3rd round. I've seen him go as low as the 7th round. So his range is very, very different. A lot of people have Kyle Pitts ranked as their tight end number 4 for fantasy football this season. I honestly believe that that is a complete and utter crazy person take, because that would mean that Kyle Pitts would have probably the greatest tight end season for a rookie ever. Basically, that's what it's implying, because it's so hard to finish super high at the tight end position as a rookie, because it takes them a while typically to get into that shape. Not really to get into the shape, right? Because Kyle Pitts, he's a big guy. He's fit. He's ready to be an NFL tight end, but more ready to fit the mold of an NFL tight end to become that guy. Typically, it takes a little bit of practice, maybe a year, and then year 2, you see that boom. It happened with TJ Hawkinson. He had a big game in his rookie season. Then a year later, he blows up in 2019. 2020 plays really well. Maybe we see that with Kyle Pitts, or maybe we see the fact that this guy is being compared to all these great NFL wide receivers, that he is that guy and that he is going to be amazing. But I am pumping my brakes hard on Kyle Pitts. He came off the board as tight end 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this draft, which is a little bit more acceptable. I'm not actually even mad at that, but when he's going as tight end 4, when he's going in the 4th round, the 3rd round, you need to be cautious of that, but he does go in the 6th round in this draft. A tight end run of Andrews, Pitts, and Dallas Goedert. Like I said, that's going to happen in drafts because a lot of people view the tight end position as falling off relatively fast, because it kind of does. After Andrews, after Pitts, people start to get nervous, then someone drafts Goedert, and then really there after Goedert, the runs typically tend to stop. Unless you have a guy who's a Noah Fant fan, who's a guy that likes Gesicki, one of those other tight ends, then they may go off the board, but Goedert is really kind of the tier break there, at least at the tight end position for me. After Raheem Mostert came Leonard Fournette, Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, and there's one more pick, and then we are back up on the board, and we have to dip our stick here into the running back position and hope that Damian Harris falls to me here. I think that Damian Harris is going to be a running back that is going to carry a lot of my rosters in 2021, because I think that he is the New England Patriots running back number 1 on that roster. Please do not snipe him with the auto pick, and of course it does. Fuck you, Brandon, for not making your pick, you fraud. So Damian Harris does get auto-picked to us. So now looking at running backs, it's starting to look relatively grim. So I am going to be taking Ronald Jones, running back of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. While I am definitely worried about the fact that Bruce Arians says one thing, does the other with the running back position, he'll tell you next week is Ronald Jones week. So basically that means you start Leonard Fournette, because it's the complete opposite. But if one of these running backs were to go down, you miss a Fournette, you miss a Ronald Jones, then boom, the other running back is going to be amazing for fantasy football. I doubt that's going to end up happening. Obviously, knock on wood, we hope that doesn't happen. But without one of those guys, these guys genuinely have top 12 potential. If not, you're kind of just confused which one to start every single week. But it could be much worse at running back as my running back 3 than Ronald Jones. So we're going to hop back onto the wide receiver train here. Again, tight ends, not really too confident. Quarterback, don't really love any of those guys. So we are going to go with a wide receiver here. Odell Beckham Jr. is a universal fade for me. There's no way I'm drafting him. I already have one of the wide receivers for Pittsburgh, so I'm not looking to draft another one. So we're going to go with Titty Boy T. Higgins here of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, one of these guys, in my opinion, for the Cincinnati Bengals is going to end up being the odd man out, the guy that's just sitting there jerking off while the other two are plowing the defenses, because it just is so hard in the NFL to keep 3 wide receivers fantasy football relevant. Could it happen? 100%. If the Bengals defense is as complete and utter dog shit as I believe it could be, then they're going to have to be passing late in games, which will hurt Joe Mixon, but it will help out a guy like T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins had a very excellent rookie season last year after being selected in the 2nd round of the draft, I believe, last year. Joe Burrow basically handpicked T. Higgins, and I am very happy with the production we saw to T. Higgins last season. Honestly, the range where T. Higgins goes at wide receiver, there is just a bunch of question marks. Guys like Juju, guys like Chase Claypool, Cortland Sutton, DJ Chark, Will Fuller. A lot of upside, but a lot of question marks. But there's a lot less question marks when you think about it in reality versus the running backs going here, because then it is a real shit show. A.J. Dillon probably not going to be seeing too many touches unless, obviously, Aaron Jones was to end up getting hurt. The rest of these guys, they're all basically backups. Kenyon Drake, Zach Moss is kind of the only guy in this range that you can talk yourself into being the starter of a team, and he's not really baked in to be that starter. Devin Singletary could easily be that guy. Michael Carter, a little bit later to me, is going to be the running back 1 of the New York Football Jets, but how valuable is that if the offense isn't that great early on, especially since Zach Wilson's going to be getting the go once the season starts? And obviously, rookie quarterbacks, you're not necessarily assuming that Zach Wilson's going to tear it up early on in the season. He obviously could. There's a reason why he was drafted so highly in the NFL draft, but there is reason to believe that maybe he sucks early on. And that would be okay. I'm not someone who's going to point a finger at a rookie quarterback who plays bad early on in their career. I like to give them a little bit more of a chance than really how the NFL is working nowadays. After I went with T. Higgins came Tyler Higbee, Robbie Anderson, Odell Beckham Jr., Mike Gesicki, Chase Claypool, Ryan Tannehill, Aaron Rodgers, DJ Chark, David Johnson, Jalen Hurts, 2 defenses, Michael Carter, another defense, and James Conner. If you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far, typically I stop a little bit earlier to ask you guys to hit that subscribe button, but we've made it like 18 minutes-ish into this video, so please make sure if you have ended up enjoying thus far that you do hit that subscribe button down below if you are new, and if you're not new, please make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment to help out the algorithm to get this video out to more people. I'm going to try to get my schedule back on where I'm uploading earlier on in the day starting in July, because right now I've been all over the place. I'm recording during the day when typically I used to record at night, upload in the morning. I'm not too sure if anyone really cares when I upload, but I try to keep it on a good schedule, and it just hasn't been good recently, so I do apologize genuinely to anyone who looks for the videos in the morning. So now we are back up on the board here, looking at quarterbacks. It is starting to get a little bit dry, so we're probably just going to continue to hold off that. Same thing goes with the tight end position, so we're going to look at wide receiver or running back here. I think I'm going to go with Zach Moss, maybe a little bit of a reach in the 8th round, but I really do believe he could be the Buffalo Bills running back 1, and inside of the 8th round, taking a shot on a guy that could be a running back 1, especially when I don't necessarily have a strong running back 3 with Ronald Jones. I am willing to take that shot on a guy like Zach Moss, who, while will be vultured by a guy like Josh Allen, not a guy like Josh Allen, fucking Josh Allen himself on the goal line, I still think that Zach Moss is a much better NFL talent than Devin Singletary. All it's going to take is the coaching there in Buffalo to realize, hey, maybe we shouldn't be all on board with Devin Singletary because he's really not all that great. Back up on the board here in a pick, I could go with Joe Burrow. If this was a best ball league, I would to get that stack. But week in, week out, I don't want to be depending Higgins, Mixon, and Burrow all every single week to be in my lineup. I don't want to be depending on them, because if the Bengals have one bad game, that's 3 players out of my starting lineup who are probably going to be shitting the bed, and that is not very good, at least in my opinion. So I'm probably just going to wait on quarterback. Tom Brady is a pretty safe pick here, but I'm just going to continue to wait, if I'm being honest with you, and look for a little bit more upside. And if Burrow falls to us or Brady in the 10th round, I'm fine taking him there. But we are going to go with a wide receiver here. We're going to take an upside shot. We have been relatively safe thus far in this draft, at least in my opinion, with Will Fuller. Now, Will Fuller is going to be suspended the first game of the 2021 NFL season, obviously following the PEDs. He was shooting himself up to get fired up for these games. He's balling out for the Houston Texans. Plays literally was amazing. 2020, this guy had 879 receiving yards, 8 receiving touchdowns in, I think, 7 or maybe it was just 8 games. This guy was absolutely bending the defenses over a table and inserting his penis into them without the use of any lube. This guy was just going crazy week in, week out, which is something we've never seen out of Will Fuller before. Now, I'm not too sure who Tua's favorite target is going to be. Will it be Parker? Will it be Will Fuller? Will it be Jalen Waddle? I think there is reason to believe that it could be Waddle or it could be Will Fuller. I honestly am not a big fan of Devontae Parker. I'm a Dolphins fan. I've seen his whole fucking career. He had that big year 2 years ago, kind of deflated like a football in New England last season, and I think that that's more of the Parker we see, the deflated version over the rock hard version that we saw in 2019. So I think Will Fuller has that opportunity to firmly grasp that wide receiver 1, at least in target position for the Miami Dolphins. I'm a big fan of Fuller. Obviously, when you're drafting him, you have to understand, though, that he is going to be missing 1 game for those PEDs. Shout out to Julian Edelman, the king of PEDs. After we went ahead and drafted Zach Moss, the Colts defense came out the board, followed by Justin Tucker the fucker. That we went with Will Fuller, Harrison Bucker the fucker, Debo Samuel, AJ Dillon, my old bitch lame, but my young Hoku, Robert Tonyan, Jamar Chase, and Greg the Leg Zerline. Jamar Chase going in the 9th round. We got T. Higgins inside of the 7th round. That is definitely a very solid discount at the wide receiver position. I am very confident in T. Higgins, though, being relatively safe, because we have seen him already play at the NFL level, where we haven't seen that with Jamar Chase. Obviously, you assume that Jamar Chase is going to transition very well from the collegiate level to the NFL, because his number 1 wide receiver, or his number 1 quarterback in college, when he had that big year, obviously opted out last season in 2019 when he has that explosive year, his quarterback was Joe Burrow. So, you know, it shouldn't be that hard to fucking transition. Same thing with Jalen Waddle and Tua. Shouldn't be too hard to transition from the college level to the NFL level, especially when your quarterback is the quarterback at the NFL level. After Greg the Leg Zuerlein came Curtis Samuel, Will Lutz, Jason Sanders, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Kenyon Drake, Joe Burrow, Tyler Boyd, and Trey Sermon. People like this. This is just such a dumb move, just so you guys know. Drafting 2 quarterbacks in the same draft. When you draft a guy like Lamar, when you draft a guy like Jalen Hurts that you're assuming is the guy, do not draft a second quarterback. Oh, never mind. This guy drafted Allen and Joe Burrow, not Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Either way, it's still just so fucking stupid. You draft a quarterback in the 3rd round. Why are you drafting another one in the 10th round? I understand maybe you want to draft one with your last pick because you're a little bit worried. Even then, if you're putting that much draft capital into the quarterback position, you shouldn't need to draft a second one. You shouldn't need to, because obviously there will be a bye week, but you just cut one of your players on your bench and you add a new quarterback for that week, because your assumption when you draft Josh Allen in the 3rd round is that he's going to play the whole fucking season and carry your team. At least that's how I think about it. After Tyler Boyd came Trey Sermon, New Orleans Saints defense, Brandon Cooks, Tampa Bay defense, and Nyheim Hines. So we're about to be back up on the board. Our roster, pretty running back heavy, but we do have some solid wide receivers on here as well. But it is important to get more running backs than wide receivers on your roster here. We could double up on the Buffalo running backs, but that is a little bit crazy. So we're just going to hop back on the wide receiver train with this pick, unless... Let's get Irv Smith. Let's get Irv Smith here. But, Nick, you draft Irv Smith in every single draft. I know. I believe so heavily in Irv Smith that I'm going to probably draft him in every single draft. I think that he is going to be seeing a very big increase in production from 2020 to 2021. Now, head coach Mike Zimmer came out there and said that, oh, Irv Smith isn't going to get more targets. That guy is lying directly to your face. Irv Smith, without Kyle Rudolph, was a monster last season. And now, did I say Mason Rudolph? Kyle Rudolph now is gone. He's in New York with the football Giants, so I believe that Irv Smith has a ton of upside and we'll be seeing a whole lot of targets in this offense this season. So we're looking at running back. We're looking wide receiver. We're just going to go wide receiver here because I really do like Jerry Jeudy of the Denver Broncos. I think that Jerry Jeudy wasn't really given the greatest of shot last year in his rookie season. I say this because when coming into the season, we thought that Jerry Jeudy last year was going to be the wide receiver 2 in an offense that had a lot of upside with Drew Lock. Obviously, everything flipped upside down because horsecock Drew Lock was so inconsistent. He'd have these big games, then he'd play like shit the next game, and then you also had to bake in the fact that Cortland Sutton got hurt, which definitely hurt Jerry Jeudy because now Judy's just drawing double coverage. He's the number 1 wide receiver. He's drawing the number 1 corner, and then he's just fucking sucks. He's struggling with these drops. He's doing all that. But based upon what we've seen at college alone, I think that warrants you being somewhat in on Jerry Jeudy, especially at the discounted price inside of the 11th round, sometimes maybe even going in the 12th round. Because while a lot of people know who Jerry Jeudy is, he left a real sour taste in your mouth last season. We still do not have a quarterback, so that is definitely something we need to address because people are just continuing to draft backup quarterbacks, Matt Ryan, as well as you like that Kirk Cousins going inside of the 12th round. Again, notice we haven't drafted a defense or a kicker yet in this draft because typically I wait till the last 2 picks to do that. I understand that some people like to get that good kicker, but getting a good defense to me is just kind of crazy. I like to stream the defensive position. One day you play, or 1 week you play this defense, then the next week you switch them out for a defense playing a worse offense. The next week you just keep rotating them in and out. Every single week there's like 7 defenses that I talk about in my defenses to stream video every single week. So it's pretty easy to actually find a defense week in, week out that you want to actually start. So I wouldn't be too bullish on drafting a running back super early. Not a running back super early, a defense super early. So we're going to go quarterback here. I want to go ahead and get a guy with a lot of upside, and that is going to be Trevor Lawrence, quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. If the Jaguars defense does suck ass like it did last season, which you assume it will, it's obviously a very young defense they're going to continue to build, and maybe 2 years from now, that defense is amazing. Or maybe not this year, but next year, in 2022, the defense is really good. They drafted correctly, bada bing, bada boom. They're great, but this year I don't project that, so I honestly think that Trevor Lawrence will be throwing a lot late in games, and you'll be getting a lot of those late game points, which should bode well for your fantasy football team. And here we're going to go with J.D. McKisson-Titties of the Washington football team. While Antonio Gibson should be able to stay healthy, we did see J.D. McKissick involved pretty heavily in that offense when Antonio Gibson was healthy, and then once Antonio Gibson ended up going down during last season, J.D. McKissick stepped into that role and fit it relatively well. So I think McKissick is definitely an interesting late round pick at running back. So is James White. I think James White will have a lot more potential this year to be getting a lot more passing opportunity because last year he just wasn't catching the ball. All that. Tevin Coleman could honestly be the running back one for the New York Football Jets if it does not work out early on for the other running back whose name is escaping me, Michael Carter. If that doesn't end up working out well, then maybe Tevin Coleman sees the shine. But again, he is just a running back for the Jets. Salvon Ahmed is the number 2 in the 1-2 punch in Miami, and I think that Salvon Ahmed will be given a decent amount of opportunity. While I think Myles Gaskin should be great, don't be surprised if you see Salvon Ahmed putting in some work for fantasy football this year, vulturing maybe some touchdowns. And if Gaskin was to go down, I think Ahmed is the perfect number 2 or the perfect new workhorse in this Miami Dolphins system. So we are nearing the end of the draft. If you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, again, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I would deeply, deeply appreciate it. After I went with Trevor Lawrence came Michael Gallup, Baker Mayfield. I went with J.D. McKissick, followed by Michael Pittman Jr., Danny Dimes, Ryan Fitzmagic, Janu Smith, Austin Hooper, Tyler Bass, Alexander Mattison, Ryan Suckup, and Phillip Lindsay. Phillip Lindsay is actually pretty interesting. Obviously, he moved from the Denver Broncos to the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans seems to be where running backs go to fucking pass away. Last year, David Johnson got sent there, and he left in a casket. Just kidding. He's still playing. David Johnson just is not that guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that guy anymore. So I think that Phillip Lindsay maybe will be seeing a lot of pass catching opportunity, but without an injury to David Johnson, I don't think he provides a lot of value. But again, it's a 13th round pick, so you can't really judge what anyone does in the 13th round unless they draft like a wide receiver 5 on a team, like you draft Van Jefferson in the 13th round because you have a hole in your head. After Phillip Lindsay came Evan Ingram, and I'm going to move myself to the top of the screen because I just realized that I was kind of cutting off the lower down pick, so I do apologize for that. That will not happen in next video because I will retroactively write that down in my brain to remember for next time. After Jeff Wilson Jr. came off the board came Cole Kmet, Buffalo Bills defense, Hayden Hurst, Anthony Ferkser, and Carson Wentz. So we are back up on the board here. We are going to be going with a defense and a kicker here. First, we're going to go with our kicker and get Mr. Matt Prater of the Arizona Cardinals. What was the other guy's name? Zane Gonzalez, he's on the screen right now, from last year, was just missing kicks left and right. Matt Prater is basically automatic going from the Detroit Lions to the Arizona Cardinals. I like that pickup late at the kicker position. For defense, again, you just want to find a defense playing a bad opponent week 1. Personally, I don't even remember the schedule for week 1 yet. By the time it's August, I will have already made a video on which defenses to draft, so we won't even have to pull up the schedule or anything. I'm just going to draft the Dolphins, my favorite team, one of the better defenses in the NFL. But again, if they do have a hard opponent week 1 and our opponent even escapes my brain, maybe it's the Bills. I don't even know. I will look it up, though, for you guys so I could tell you who the Dolphins are playing, even though it's not very important because I don't really want to just draft my defense like that. The Dolphins play the Patriots, so that's actually not that bad, but I do think the Patriots offense is going to look a lot better in 2021, but I still think the Dolphins are a good enough defense to withstand the Patriots and play quite well. I think the Dolphins will win that game personally, but obviously, who knows even who's playing quarterback right now. I think it'll be Cam Newton, but you never really know. By the time the season starts, we could see Mr. Big Mac Jones being the starting quarterback of the New England Deflatriots. So thank you guys all for watching this video. Now notice a lot of my team, let's flip up my team here. We have a lot of bye week 7, but that's not something I'm necessarily worrying about when I'm drafting my team. I think a lot of people look super heavily into drafting when they're looking at bye weeks. Obviously, if you draft 2 tight ends, you're drafting 2 quarterbacks. You want to draft with 2 different bye weeks for obvious reasons, so you have a quarterback, a tight end to play that week. But otherwise, sure, maybe my team might suck complete and utter ass week 7, but who knows if all these guys will even be on my team by week 7. You could do trades. You'll have guys that suck. A guy like Zach Moss could be deleted off my roster. Some of these guys will get hurt. You're moving guys in and out of your roster repeatedly, so don't even worry too much about the bye weeks. I think that's something that a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on during their draft. That is not really that important. That is something that when I was a lot younger playing fantasy football a couple years ago, I thought that you needed to really look at the bye weeks, but in reality, pump the brakes on the bye weeks. Don't worry too much, and you will be a-okay. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I love each and every single one of you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your guys' day, and I'll see you beautiful bastards on Wednesday, hump day, with another banger of a video. As always, guys, make sure you stay safe. Good boy.